cultural backgrounds. We have here three main factors that affects our selection process. Number one is intensity, novelty, and then relevance. So how does intensity affect our selection process? So intensity, meaning more intense stimuli like bright colors or loud sounds, are more likely to grab our attention. Of course, if something is very loud, like for example cars outside, it will grab our attention. And then, for example, you have a classmate, a quiet classmate. That classmate suddenly spoke very loudly. It will grab your attention because of the intense sound. And in intercultural communication, let's say for example, color. In Chinese culture, the red color can easily grab their attention because in Chinese culture, it symbolizes good luck. So that's how the intensity affects our selection process. Another factor is the novelty. New or unusual stimuli tend to capture our attention more effectively than familiar ones. So meaning if it is new to us, it will likely grab our attention. Just like in a gathering, everyone is wearing a plain white t-shirt. And then suddenly, someone walks in wearing a traditional outfit. It will grab your attention. You will select that information because it is unusual to you. It is not familiar. So, novelty also shows how we understand different culture, especially if we are not familiar with it. So, it grabs our attention. And then, the last factor is the relevance. Relevance influences our selection process in a way that information that is personally relevant or important is prioritized in our perception. So sometimes we select information if it is related to us or relevant to us. Just like, for example, in intercultural settings. If you are from a family-oriented culture, topics such as about family will grab your attention. And then if you are an individual focused culture, topics such as personal goals will grab your attention. So that's how these factors affect our selection process. Now, after we select what information to focus on, we organize it to make sense of it. So another stage is the organization. Organization involves structuring selected information into a coherent pattern. This can be based on learned indicators and cultural norms. So this is how we make sense of our selected information. So we also have here the concepts that influences how we organize those information. So those concepts are schemas and proximity. So schemas, these are mental frameworks that helps us categorize and make sense of information. So when we say schemas, for example, if we want to learn a new things, our schema helps us make sense of it by fitting it to what we already know. And for example, you hear the word teacher. We have different ways on how to organize that information. If we are talking about culture, in some culture, if they hear the word teacher, it can be seen as strict or highly respected authority. And in some culture, it is seen as friendly or a guide. And then another one is the proximity. Proximity, items that are close together are perceived as belonging together, influencing how we group people because some culture interpret two people standing together as being friendly. But in some culture, it means it is very uncomfortable and intrusive. So we can see how culture give importance to personal space. And then, after organizing the information, so the last stage is the interpretation. This is where we give meaning to what we already organized. So interpretation, the process of assigning meaning to organized information. This stage is heavily influenced by our experiences, views, and cultural context. So of course, in interpretation, it has factors that can affect how we interpret it. So cultural influence is one of the factors in influencing our interpretation. So cultural influence is different cultures may interpret the same gesture or behavior in varied ways. Of course, we have different culture and we interpret things differently, even though it is same action. Like for example, in some Western cultures, they interpret eye contact as being confident. But in some cultures, such as Asian cultures, eye contact is being confrontational and being rude. And then we also have the factor which is the subjectivity. Each individual's interpretation can differ based on their background and experiences. Sometimes we also interpret things based on our own experiences. Just like, for example, a person who has been bitten by a dog can interpret a barking dog as a threat, but a dog lover can interpret a barking dog as being playful. In intercultural communication, in intercultural settings, some cultures also have a different interpretation of things. Just like the gesture, which is the thumbs up. In some cultures, some people interpret the thumbs up as being positive, but in other culture, it is negative. So that's are the stages of the perception process. Perception affects intercultural communication again because it influences how we understand people from different cultures. Of course, misunderstanding is inevitable, and it can happen when people from different cultures interpret same gesture differently. By understanding these differences, we can have a effective communication with people from different cultures. And perception is the key part of how we see the world and connect with others. Understanding the stages of perception process such as the selection, organization, and interpretation, it will help us improve our intercultural communication skills. And being aware of our own perception and others' perception, we can have a respectful and positive interaction with people from different cultures.
So the second topic is about the influence of culture and perception. So culture profoundly influence perception by shaping how individuals interpret information, prioritize attention, and make sense of their surrounding. This influence extends to visual, auditory, and social perception, often creating significant difference between people from distinct cultural backgrounds. So culture refers to the shared values, belief, behavior, and artifacts of a group which shape our group while and influence our interaction with others. So culture refers to shared values, belief, behavior, and artifacts of group. It shapes our worldview and significantly influence how we interpret with others culture. So the second is how culture shape perception. So culture provides framework through which we interpret our experience. Different culture backgrounds leads to different perception of the same event or interaction. So provide framework to which we interpret our experience. For example, with a challenging situation, individuals from different cultural backgrounds may respond different in one culture. Seeking help from family might be common while in other independence and self-reliance could be valued more highly. The third is cultural norms. So cultural norms dictate what is considered appropriate behavior. For example, in some culture, maintaining direct eye contact is seen as confident, while in others, it may be viewed as scared. So cultural norms dictate what is considered appropriate behavior in various contexts. So for instance, in some culture, maintaining direct eye contact. So it's seen as a sign of confidence, respect. However, it may be represent confrontation and the response. This show how culture shape our understanding of social interaction and influence our perception.
High context culture and this is low context culture. Communication relies heavily on contextual cues, body language, and the relationship between communicators, messages may be implicit, and understanding relies on the context. So high context cultures, such as Japan and China, rely heavily on contextual cues, body and the relationship between communicators. So mas prefer sa high context culture, which is Japan and China. So mas prefer sila sa body language, kaya sila spoke o communicate. For example, silence in conversation might indicate agreement or contemplation, depending on the relationship between the parties involved. So mas prefer sa high context cultures, which is Japan and China. So mas prefer nila ang silence conversation. The way sila mo indicate of agreement. So on the other hand, low context cultures like the United States and Germany favor more direct and explicit communication. In these cultures, words carry most of the meaning, and there is less reliance on the context convey messages. So sa low context cultures, which is United States and Germany, so mas explicit ang ilang communication. Meaning explicit, mas clarify, mas detailed communication. For example, if someone wants to express disagreement, they may do so directly without worrying about their relational implications. Lastly, ethnocentrism is the belief that one's own culture is superior to others. So, mag-state ang ethnocentrism na ang usang cultures superior to others. This is mindset can lead to misinterpretation and prejudice against the cultures. For instance, if someone from a low context culture interprets the indirect communication style of a context culture as evasive, they may feel frustrated or dismissive. Recognizing and overcoming ethnocentrism is essential for effective intercultural. So, ang ethnocentrism is made siya sa intercultural communication. So, culture impacts our perception, shaping not only how we interpret messages but also how we interact with others in various social contexts. Understanding the cultural differences such as high context and low context communication styles and the potential influence of ethnocentrism. So ang atong cultures, so the cultural impacts of perception, shaping not only how we interpret messages but also make na to interact with others in various social contexts. We can enhance our ability to communicate communicate effectively and respectfully and across cultural boundaries. So, mas ma-enhance ito ang itong perception, communicate effectively and respectfully across cultural boundaries.
Okay, so the last topic is all about perception and intercultural communication. So when we say perception and intercultural communication, it plays a significant role in intercultural communication. It influences how we understand and interact with individuals from different cultural backgrounds. Understanding the perception affects communication can help us navigate cultural differences more effectively. So, one major aspect of perception and intercultural communications is the influence of stereotypes and prejudices. So, stereotypes are oversimplified and generalized beliefs about a particular group, while prejudices are preconceived opinions that based on reasons or actual experiences. So, for example for stereotypes, saying that all teenagers are irresponsible is a stereotype. These beliefs can be harmful as we fail to recognize individual differences within groups. So, stereotypes limit communication and understanding. Challenging them enhances intercultural relations. And prejudices consist of preconceived opinions that hinder communication and foster discrimination, addressing it through education and empathy that enhance understanding and inclusivity. So both stereotype and prejudice can create barriers to effective communication, leading to misunderstanding and conflict. It is crucial to challenge these oversimplified views and approach individuals with an open mind. So next is another essential element of intercultural communication is empathy and perspective taking. So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. So, for example, if someone from another culture is upset due to misunderstanding, showing empathy involves recognizing their feelings and validating their experiences, even if you don't fully understand their cultural backgrounds. So perspective taking involves viewing a situation from someone else's viewpoint. So perspective taking involves viewing the situation from someone else's viewpoint. This means trying to see the world through the eyes of someone from a different culture. So practicing empathy and perspective taking foster better understanding, leading to stronger relationships and collaboration. So for example, if you are a conversation with someone from a cultural that values indirect communication, it is helpful to consider how their cultural norms influence their way of expressing themselves. So, practicing empathy and perspective taking can enhance our understanding, foster deeper connection with people from diverse backgrounds. So last is adapting communication styles. So finally, adapting communication styles is crucial in intercultural interactions. So adapting communication means adjusting one's approach based on the cultural context of the interactions. This means adjusting one's approach based on their interactions. If you are communicating with someone from high context culture, you may need to pay more attention to non-verbal cues and contextual information rather than relying solely on words. So adapting communication styles to cultural norms promotes respect and enhance interactions, making it easier to connect with others effectively. So conversely, when interacting with someone from a low context culture, being clear and direct in your communication will be more effective. Adapting your communication styles to fit the cultural context demonstrate communication styles, we can enhance our intercultural communication skills and create more meaningful connections with others.